All right, what is going on YouTube? Tickle Pink, your least favorite content creator. I have made call out maps for every single map in the game. And before we get any further into it, I just want to go ahead and apologize because this is not up to the quality that I want on my own channel. However, at the time being, there's no offline raids or anything like that in Arena. And these are the most common callouts that I heard being used and that we used on our way to top 100. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. I have each map and they're gonna be available to you guys to just go ahead and pull them up whenever you want to look at them with all the callouts on them. We're gonna go through them one by one. I'll touch base on some other things that are on the map that aren't labeled. The symmetry points on the maps, you'll see some of these maps have the symmetrical axes, and some of these maps are biased towards certain spawns, so you'll know like who actually has the advantage so you don't peek out and instantly get fragged. If you've played games like Counter-Strike, Valorant, callouts can make a world of difference in your climb. You could have the exact same awareness, the exact same aim, and a worse kit even, or worse aim, etc. But you have good callouts and good communication, and you will skyrocket in rating. And even if you aren't concerned about your rating, if you're able to win more matches, you're going to get twice as much experience, which means you're going to unlock your kits that much faster. Speaking of unlocking your kits faster, always run a 5-stack. If you need people to play Arena with, join my Discord. I would love to play with you. And without further ado, let's get into this callout map. If this helps you in any way, shape, or form, make sure to smash this like button and tell me to kill myself. I'm going to try and one take this video, which means no edits or anything, because the wife's about to come out and I need to get a little bit of sleep in. So it took me a long time to make these maps. If you want any of these maps, all you need to do is go over to my Twitch chat and type !bay, for example, !bowl, !air pit, and they'll come with all of the callouts already on them. So for example, if I just throw up some of these right now, you'll see that I have all the callouts located on the maps. So they do look pretty crazy when they're fully loaded, but we're going to go through them one by one and just talk about them, right? And what makes a good call out? So I've played Counter-Strike to Global Elite. I played Dirty Bomb to the top of the leaderboards. I've played Overwatch to 4400. I am a competitive gamer. Am I better than anyone at games? No, I am just terminally online, but I have gotten very good at making callouts. Now, a good callout is something that is short. You want to be able to relay as much information as fast as possible. It's very unique. For example, we're looking at Bay 5 right now. There's a ton of cargo containers. If you say, he's by the cargo container, he's by the box, well, guess what? There's boxes and cargo containers everywhere. So it's unique, it's short, and an even better call out is like the first time you hear it, you immediately know what someone's talking about. For example, you see some fire escapes over here. You usually call these fire escapes. Someone knows what you're talking about. They've seen it once before. They're like, oh, that is fire escape. And they've immediately learned the call out. So that's what we're looking for, these call outs. You don't have to use these callouts, and if you guys have any other suggestions for callouts, by all means. The other thing is we're gonna try and keep as few callouts as possible. We want like to have popular spots where people like to play around, and we need to relay information to our team. We want like a defined place for that, so that they know where to expect enemies. But you could have a callout for every square foot on this map. You could have people literally memorize them from top to bottom. We could have like A1 all the way to like Z58 or something, right? And like tile out this entire map, but that just wouldn't be useful. We want to have as few callouts, but give as much information as possible. So for example, if I turn on red and fuel, these are kind of far apart now, but if you say he's in red, he just killed me and he's going to fuel, right? Because you saw him run to fuel. If you can call out what objectives he's going between, at the very least, he doesn't make it to fuel. We can assume he's going to be in this general vicinity, right? So utilize those callouts in that sort of fashion. So red, there's plenty of red cargo containers all around here, right? There's really only 2 you can really play, and this is just the most effective one. So that's why it gets the name red. It's a very contested point, and lots of people like to hide in it. Not much to say. It's on the 2nd level. It's got like the labyrinthian maze below it. Not a whole lot to say. There's not a whole lot of callouts around this trailer other than the trailer itself right here, because it's just like, you can go through this container, you can go through this container, there's an alley here, there's an alley here. There's too much going on, but we have red right here. Next up, we have fuel. There's little fuel depots in here, and there's not a whole lot to say about it. People like to lurk around here. Be careful. There's like a lot of little cracks and stuff, and it's kind of like a flank position. But this isn't necessarily a strategy guide. I'm just going to give you short synopsises on all the callouts. Here we have head glitch. You can get up here on these pallets and shoot down onto the objective. I've heard people refer to it as their heaven, our heaven, etc. when teams swap, but I prefer just to have standardized callouts. When we're looking at a map that's like, for say, airport, it's good to say theirs or ours with a symmetrical map per se. But in this map, when you have these hard set, not objectives, but locations that aren't different, sure, staircase on their side is kind of like heaven as well. You could say then this is their heaven, but we want to just make it isn't least confusing as possible, which I think I'm doing the opposite of. I'll try and explain this. So don't listen to me anymore. Up next, we have green. A spot people like to lurk on again. It's a lot like red, but you'll see it used more in higher elo as opposed to red, which is used more in lower elo. You can just do a lot with it. It's kind of like a weird position, and people just like to hide in it. So watch out for that. It's also great for peeking up and shooting people up here in the head glitch. Up here is connector. People love to go fuel to connector. Not much else to say about that. If people don't really lurk in here, you want to watch out more for people in the fuel area. Up here we have heaven. We are just talking about heaven. And right below it, you're going to see that we have hell, okay? It's super easy. Someone, you might tell them like, hey, this is heaven, but then you say hell, it's going to immediately like recognize in the brain like, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. So that's what we want to do with these callouts. This next one, we have smuggle. We already named this trailer. We just haven't got to it yet. So we give this one smuggle, as people like to kind of just hide in it like some illegal aliens or something like that. Maybe we could call it illegal. That'd be kind of funny, but oh well. Over here we have Jeep. Now, Jeep is sometimes played defensively, but mostly you want to call this in relation to heaven. So like Jeep to heaven or heaven to Jeep, so you can give out people's locations on where they're running, or heaven to hell. It's more utilized to give people's like rotations. Same thing with forklift. It's just a rotation basis for heaven. Fire escape, you can tell people if they're playing upper fire escape, below fire escape, etc. Lurking around fire escape. Here we have ramp. This is important because it can test red in this whole upper section above like the labyrinthian maze over here. Up next, we have jump up. This is how you get to red when you spawn over here in the warehouse spawn or the loading bay spawn. And here we have loading bay. It's super self-explanatory. Honestly, the good callouts, it's like it's just what it is, right? As long as it's short, it works well. This is dumpster. You flip dumpster, trash, etc. They all work well. Here we just have standard trailer. People like to lurk around it, or people pushing through trailer, particularly when you're playing this fire escape angle. You're going to want to look through people pushing that trailer side. You don't really push it when you spawn over on red side here. Blue, just like how we have red, green, blue. This is the most influential blue crate on the map right here. This is how you get into that upper section. So just calling out, make it easy for people. This is just warehouse spawn here. I did put the blue and red spawns for you guys right now, and I'm not sure like how much information to add on these. I feel like I'm not adding a whole lot of information, but like I said, it's not a strategy guide. We're just trying to teach you guys all of the callouts. Sorry if this video just doesn't feel up to Tickle Me Pink quality standards. Make sure to smash the dislike button. Tell me to kill myself because of how bad I did. But this back section that links into the back of trash can, this is actually alley over here. We have this spot called parkour. The reason why it's called parkour is you have to jump into it from green or from head glitch right here, and it's just a really weird off angle to look out for. And in this spur of the moment, it doesn't get used too much, but I've seen people like jump to this and clutch out and get like 3 kills because people are having a hard time conveying where they're at. People think they're like playing below the boxes and they swing wide or right into them and get gunned down. Here we have lurk. The reason it's called lurk is people tend to spawn over here and then just wait right behind this box and kind of like dance around and wait for someone to push right through here under these pipes or right through here, right through fuel, and then shoot them in the back. So watch out for players playing that lurk spot. Use bus. You can say they're going to the back of bus, front of bus in relation to which one of these openings they're going through. You guys could also come up with different ones. You could just say literally 1, literally 2. It's up to you guys, but front bus and back bus works pretty well for us. We call this jungle. This whole kind of like back section right here is jungle. Like they're rotating to the back of the spawn in jungle. They're not an alley. We'll get to more alley callouts here in a second. Alley doesn't get used too much. This is the last alley callout, honestly. And this is moving. The reason it's moving truck is it kind of has like furniture and stuff outside of it and inside of it. And there's 2 other box trucks on the map, so they can't all just be truck. This truck over here is produce. It has some vegetables and plants on the side of it. No brainer. You could call it vegetable man. That's what people usually call me, so I don't know. We call this one shitters. It's kind of funny. It's porta potties. You work construction, you call them shitters. And there's also a bug where you could see through the map pertaining to this area. So it also kind of makes fun of people that were utilizing that to getting an advantage. But that covers the majority of the callouts here on Bay 5. Bay 5 is a great map to get callouts on, and this is why I wanted to start with this first and foremost, as it's not symmetrical, so having unique callouts can make a world difference. And there's a lot of like maze type paths, but if you can call out good positions and good rotations on your team, it'll make all the difference. It'll make Bay feel like it was sort of like a what would you say? It makes Bay feel like it's a Call of Duty map, realistically like Shipment. It's actually feeling more like a CSGO map. So learning those callouts is huge. once again, just type !bay in my Twitch chat, and you'll have access to this whole info card. And hopefully that's helpful. These info cards do take me a long time to make, guys. So hopefully you guys appreciate it. Up next, we have Bowls. So Bowls map with a helicopter. There's a tower on each side. It is a symmetrical map. You'll see red is one spawn, blue is another spawn. I put a note here. This map is symmetrical, so you can use it to the prefix our enemy, ours, or enemy with most callouts, right? So for example, if I was gonna pull up a callout here, let's just pull up any callout. We'll say choke right here, right? Let's say we're red side, so this is our tower, right? And I'll say our choke, right? You could say that because they're symmetrical callouts. That works really well for us. Their choke, our choke, enemy choke, team choke, things like that. Prefix, just to let people know what is going on with the teams. You'll see right over there, we have choke right on the other side. Up next, we have a generator. Now, part of this map is symmetrical, but not all the callouts are. So you'll see that on certain maps, they're really symmetrical. And you get some you can say they're and are, and you have others that are like rock solid, like they have their own callouts depending on the side. Some of the maps feel dangerously symmetrical to where like you maybe have played like this map like 5 times and you haven't really noticed a big difference between the sides. The main difference is we're going to have like the medical unit on one side and the office unit on the other side. And there are a few different sight angles. The one I really want you guys to look out for is when people rush through the spawn right here. It's more advantageous on this side to run through and prone, and then people shoot right down this alley. So if they're prone at A, they'll shoot through this alley and right here. And it's not as possible when you're on this side. Additionally, this map is connex sided, so when we get to connex spawn, you'll realize, but this is the connex spawn because it's surrounded in connexes. If you run through these connexes and through this connector right here, you'll actually get into the helicopter before the depot spawn over here. So just keep that in mind. So if you're going to contest helicopter here, that you don't get caught off guard by the guy that beats you there. So let's get into more of these callouts here, but that is generator here. It's just kind of a hard piece of cover that people like to play in this lane right before the tower. It's a really good call out. Up next is supply. People like to play outside of the helicopters, particularly whoever is over here in offices. Maybe after they've won it or they're flanking around, they're going to hold outside. They'll probably look for your tower player and then look to shoot into helicopter if your team lost the helicopter. On the flip side, you're going to have ambulance. It's like the exact same thing as supply, but it's just mirrored and they're obviously different. We call this mid lane. You have a mid lane on the other side of the map as well. One thing I want you guys to watch out for mid lane is people like fast tracking. So if you were to spawn over on blue side here, you run through here and then chuck a nade. Same thing with going through connexes over here and chuck a nade. This is a super common nade spot on this map, and just be very careful. If someone on the enemy team is running assault and running the same location every single match, they're likely going to keep throwing their nades either in mid or over in this other lane here. So watch out for that. This is symmetrical call out. This is plywood. So on the tower, you're going to have one staircase that goes up, and then it's going to turn, and then a second staircase is going to be covered in plywood. People use this plywood to go ahead and just like barely peek their head out of the tower. And it's good to be able to give like a quick call out to your team saying, hey, he's on plywood. So when they go look at the tower, they're not looking all over the tower. They know exactly where to aim and they can pop the sniper's head, right? So plywood is going to be on both sides. Symmetrical call out there. Same thing with tower, just another symmetrical call out. Generally, when we say tower on our team, we mean they've made it all the way to top level, and we'll use like the prefix like left or right, because no matter where you're at in the map, they're always going to be on the left hand or the right hand side realistically, unless you're behind them. In the event you're right behind them, if you could just get rid of them, that'd be convenient. I don't need to tell you what side they're on, right? Over here, we call this HQ. And on the other side, we call this connex spawn, just to be able to remember. When you first spawn, the way I like to remember what spawns are what, particularly if you're going to play this mid, is you'll have like an ambulance and an Amtrak, or excuse me, like an Amtrak over here, and then you're going to have a gate. And on the other side, you're going to have a gate and you're going to have an ambulance. That's how I always notice the differences of the spawns. Or you can look at all these connexes over here, see if you have all the colorful connexes. If not, then you are over in the HQ spawn. So up next is tail. It's a no-brainer. I mean, it's a helicopter. You call it a tail. Then nose. Super easy, but it makes it easier than like front helicopter, back helicopter, in my opinion. You guys might argue that. Next, we have medical. This whole area is called medical, particularly the interior section of it. So if they come up this back ramp and they're in this building, we call that medical. Same thing for this over here in the offices, right? We call this prone. This was the angle I was talking about. Where people like to lay down and then shoot down these. It's almost kind of like a mid op or something. You want to be really careful of this position. It catches a lot of people off guard right now. And here we have center. It's just an ambulance in center. We can't have two ambulances, and people like to lurk on this, just like lurk in the bay callouts. So you can even call us lurk. That would work well as well. Here we have connector. Connector goes under right here, so it's on the first floor. So you'll be able to run through this path, and you'll have the connector right here. And it's really good to have the difference between it, as you can, you know, if someone's going through one path and another if you're fighting them here, but sometimes it's hard to catch them in time, give a good call out in time because it's a really short path. It is wood, so sometimes just being able to, if you have a teammate right there letting them hear, they'll hear the wood and they'll realize that they're in the connector, but it can be good to just have a fast call out right there. We call this under right here. That could probably have a better call out. On this side of center, we just call this bus over here. This is the lane that I was talking about that likes to run in really fast and throw the grenade. We call it barrels when you're on this side of the map. And on the flip side, we like to call it connex. Over here, we have ramp. Ramp is not symmetrical. On this side over here, you have like a drop down over here. But ramp lets you go ahead and get up on this second level and get into the medical area or the camo nettings. Here we just have A side or B side, or we'll say our side helicopter or their side helicopter. Both are fine. Generally, let's say like your blue spawn, this A site is basically yours by default, is what we like to consider. And same thing with B side for the red team. So keep that in mind. You have the sniper advantage of the tower shooting down on the objective as well. It's pretty hard to cap it with a sniper in it over here, but it's very easy if B objective comes up and you were playing blue to just prone behind these sandbags and then you're safe. So keep that in mind. And that mostly covers it. One thing that we also call out is like tents right here. Oh, we'll say like front offices up here. We could probably utilize some better callouts here, but just nothing has came across really quickly yet. They really is stuck. So if you guys have names for those callouts on bowl, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. And once again, this is exclamation point bowl in my Twitch chat. So like I said, we're trying to one take this right now. So I'm gonna take a drink of my beer. We're gonna start with the arena air pit callout map. So let me know your favorite beer in the comments down below. But this map is also symmetrical, so I like to draw the symmetries this way with this map. You could also just drop it perfectly in half, but basically what I want to have the point show is that this map is actually sided one side towards the bus side of spawns. You'll know you're in bus spawn because you're in a sideways bus and the bus door is open. Then we have terminal spawn, which spawns over here in the back of the plants. And at first glance, it would seem that this map is really just like cut in half. But I like to draw a line right here because you're kind of going to be fighting the angles like this. Like one side tends to be very aggressive and one side tends to be passive. And the middle really tends to be very symmetrical, very unique. So you could draw symmetries in a lot of different ways across this map, but this is the way I like to draw it. You could really rotate it, but yeah, it is slightly confusing. But we're going to go around with all the stores on the outside. So you'll have German, and we're going to have 3 other stores after this. We like to go to like close to objective German, backside German, etc. We'll talk more about those here in a little bit. Here we have lower fuse, just lower fuselage. There's 2 levels to fuselage. There's an upper level and a lower level, and we just shorten it for fuse. You say low fuse, high fuse, people will know what you're talking about. It gets really, really jammed here. Sometimes in high-rated matches, you'll have 4 people on each team coming here to fight to the death, and 1 person staying back, watching for flanks, etc. It gets a bit obnoxious, so being able to get out as fast of callouts as possible in there is huge to prevent team kills. So we used to call it like left side, right side based on, you know, where we spawn. You'd call it left or right, no matter where you were looking. But we've gone with port over here, and naturally we'll have starboard over here as well. Just because once you win plane control, you kind of bounce back and forth, and the map is very symmetrical, and you start to honestly feel like you've lost the direction of your spawn after running back and forth across a plane like 2 times. It sounds weird, like I'm just running up there for fun, but you're kind of like checking over here, checking someone in the store, then you heard someone over here, right? You hear someone below you, and you very quickly will lose your left and right, and you're going to get some confusion on the map. You'll notice these wings, I mean, obviously they're not symmetrical as well because it's set up like a real airplane, so it's pretty easy to tell apart port and starboard sides. Here we have drop down. There's drop down the other side, but from lower fuselage, you can drop straight on these boxes and get underplane, and we just refer to it as underplane. Down there, I didn't label it just simply to the fact that they'd all be stacked up like ridiculously. But there's like a landing gear. You can say that he's on the landing gear. He's on the boxes under the plane, right? He's on the engine. These are all really easy calls. Like we have upper fuse right here. Here's a symmetrical call out. We refer to this as sandbags. So it's the tower attached to the platform. There's stairs to it. And sandbags, people like to sit here and defend, or they'll prone right here on the side of sandbags. And there's 1 on each side. So another symmetrical call out To follow up with another symmetrical callout, we have platform. Just a platform right before you go into the plane, and we'll get into the callouts we have for the stairs specifically as well. It seems weird to have the stairs, but when you have 3 different flights of stairs, it can make it a lot easier to get it to your team as fast as possible. So you could have like sandbag stairs. Then we'll talk about the other stairs here soon. You think they'd be called platform stairs, but now I'd like to shorten it up. This is bus spawn, like we were talking about earlier, and this will be terminal spawn over here. This is B side objective over on the port hand side. Chinese right over here. It's on the I guess you'd say like not the bow because it's a plane, but the nose port side. Louis Vuitton, it's on the tail starboard side. We have A sides on the starboard side. Burgers on the nose starboard side. And then it sounds kind of obnoxious, but it'll really help you out a lot to get used to using like port and starboard. Up next, we have barrels. Barrels is super unique, and if you're still watching this, I'll give you guys a little bit of hidden tip. If you spawn over here on terminals and you run straight up here, pop a painkiller top of platform, jump on this barrel, jump over this barrel, and land on this wall, and you can jump onto this engine, and you'll be on this wing at the same time people are getting into like this general area right here. So you can shoot down on someone trying to cross under, you can shoot someone trying to swing wide, you can shoot someone climbing up in the stairs on sandbag here, and you can shoot someone on 1.5, which we'll talk about here in just a second. It's a nasty angle, and you can quickly swing right into the plane. If they're being aggressive on the plane too, you can sometimes shoot them in the back. It is a crazy little parkour angle. So if you guys know of any other insane parkour angles, let me know. But you can only do that on barrels. You can't do that on generator, which we haven't got to yet. Engine, you mirrored on either side. You can say if they're like underplane engine or if they're like A side or B side engine. It's nice to give that sort of prefix to it so your team knows what side of the engine they're hiding on so they don't swing and get killed on the wrong end. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we had port, so we're going to have starboard over here. Another symmetrical callout, we like to call this tower. You can call this weapon spawn, sniper. I've heard people call it boat as well. All of those work really well in my opinion. But yeah, there's a weapon spawn here. If you didn't know, so you can pick up a sniper rifle here. We call this connector back here. People like to lurk in these windows, and it goes into the store as well. Terminal spawn over here. Generator, it's the symmetrical version of barrels. However, you can't really run this wall like you can over here. I've tried it a few times and I haven't had any luck. I wasn't able to make this jump on this plane when I was able to get on this wall. Maybe with more strength levels that will be possible. The stairs leading up to top fuselage we refer to as 1.5, as in if the ground level is ground 0, these stairs back here are 0.5. Then we have platform, or you could just call it 1, but we like to call it platform so you don't say 1 and then people are assuming it's 1.5, right? It's just platform or plat, shorten it up as long as people know what you're talking about. Then we have 1.5, which are the wooden stairs on the way up to top fuselage. They, yeah, that's another good thing. You can call them wood or you can call them metal right here. Is the stairs different that way? Makes it a little bit easier to distinguish the audio, know exactly where to aim. But like I said, we call these 0.5 back here, this first step of stairs. It's a really good call that we just transitioned from standard Tarkov. We use this particularly on, let's say, customs dorms. On the 3-story, you'll be like, oh, I'm on 1.5, oh, I'm on 2.5, I'm on 2, you know, etc. I guess you generally go 0.5, 1.5, 2.5, etc. Just depending on if it's a basement level, etc. Normally, first floor is obviously the first floor here in America. I know they do it a little bit differently in other countries, so 0 would be like the basement, I suppose. But we use ground 0, I guess, under the plane. I don't know. It sounds like some weird, edgy joke. I'm sure you can make some jokes here. But we're going to move on before I get Monka tossed off Twitch. I should have a line over here. And yeah, that covers most of our important callouts here on Airpit. There's some weird ones like this area right here we like to call tarp over here. But you don't really run into too many people that aren't going to play these positions. This is just like a really, really standard map. People don't really deviate too much. There's not much cover if you don't go to like any of the callouts that we talked about in this video. And these symmetrical maps can be really easy to learn once you understand like the symmetrical callouts, and additionally you know which side of the map is sided, right? So just remember that this is bus sided. They'll always get into the plane first and get in their positions first. However, you have the flank angle on the terminal spawn. So there's your air pit callout map. Make sure you do !point air pit to see the full callout map with all the callouts on it, and share it with your friends, guys. All right, Equator. I need another drink of my beer here. We have the 2 spawns over here. This map is perfectly symmetrical, straight down the middle. And yeah, we'll just get straight into it. So we call this junk pile in the mid. You'll hear us call this like mid right. Sometimes let's say we were red side, we'll call this mid right. Sometimes we used to call this like mid left. And then we'd have far left and mid just because we didn't have names for it. But here we like to call this junk. On the other side, we have bastion. You can actually climb up in this. It's like somewhat of a defendable position. Over here, we have heaven. It's on the sandbag sides. And one thing I want you guys to remember is this map is sided to both sides. So each one has an advantage. So if you spawn over here on the blue side, I don't have the name of this pulled up right now, but there's two different names for them. One is ammo and one is target. The way you tell the rooms are almost identical you spawn in is the table that's in front of you will either have a target, practice target with a bunch of gunshots in it, or it'll have a bunch of ammo boxes. That's how you tell if you're on ammo side or if you're on gunshot side. But anyways, heaven is blue sided because you can you run up in here, you get here slightly faster, just barely faster. And you also have a right hand angle to shoot at this guy, so you can swing your gun out super easily. And we don't have left hand shoulder swapping here in arena yet. So just remember that you'll always win heaven effectively on paper when you're blue. I'm sure sometimes the other team will outfrag you, and then you can start shooting down. So you're always going to have upper control here, and going ahead and winning this side is more important when you're on the blue side. Now, on the flip side of that, the red side has advantage on the bus, and that's kind of how this works out. And it's because you can swing in, once again, on a right hand into the bus, clear out the bus, and you have a right hand up into heaven, right? So it's pretty well balanced map. If you want to be like a player that kind of rotates, you could swing between having the advantage on both sides and just swing into them. And you'd have a lot of influence in your Equator maps. That's what I like to do sometimes, but hopefully that explains to you how each side has their advantages. And if you don't know about like right hand swing advantages, I'll teach you about that in another video sometime. So make sure you are subscribed. This store right here, we used to refer to this as like back left, we were red, but they all have names on them. Most of them are all the way in the corner, so we showed the direct corner store. If not, we go with like the most notable one closest to the corner. But here we have tech light, just like from interchange, and then we'll have a flare call here. We call these tech eskies, as in escalators. I saw someone was asking me about that wasn't a native English speaker. We're just shortening the word escalators. That's what these like motorized stairways are called here in English. But tech eskies, people like to lurk around these a lot. They look like they're not that important, but yeah, people utilize these as cover and as like quick flanks and stuff all the time. So having a call out for all of them is very easy, and that will follow through with all of the call outs. So we have ADIC over in this corner here, and naturally you're gonna have ADIC eskies right next to it. Here we have Cubby. It really stands out. It's a bit of a weird position, but people tend to push into it and kind of lurk and look for a shot right here. Just remember, it's extremely wall bangable, so if someone's in there, just fucking lay into it and you'll probably get rid of it. Don't even stress. Naturally, this is the bus. There's not much else to say. You can say top bus or in bus, but not much else to say about that. The bus is kind of a weird one right here, as you have to get into it from mid. Neither side can really get on it. You can do a little bit of parkour to get on here, but it's not very effective, so just keep that in mind. Normally, whoever gets mid control will go ahead and get on the bus, and it's biased at obviously shooting down on this side of the map, so just keep that in mind. Stairs, there's not a whole lot to say about this. You can refer to these as 0.5, etc., or just stairs. But once again, they're also made out of wood, so there's no other wood stairs like that in these vicinities. Or I guess Cubby is made out of wood, so that's not the best call ever. But they generally give the positions away, as you'll see that heaven is made out of cement. And that's a really good tip for you guys for just listening, is listen to what people are standing on. If you start taking mental note of like where broken glass is, where the wooden or like certain stairs, what material they're made out of, it seems kind of obnoxious, but it doesn't take much to realize like when you're walking on certain things. And it'll help you know when to pre-fire and know exactly where your enemies are. So we talked about the spawns there. This is ammo spawn. You're going to see green ammo crates on the table when you spawn. These are ADIC eskies. It'll be the same all the way around. Obviously, this is mid. There's only one objective on this map, so it doesn't rotate. KFC is in this top corner right here. KFC eskies comes right after, right? We just call these boxes on the far right side if you were to spawn on red here. But yeah, so that people know it's like the midpoint of the far right section. The far right lane, if you will. You could go ahead and say I'm watching KFC lane, for example, if you spawn here over on the target side or the red hand side. Then we have med eskies because naturally we're going to have the medical building right over in this corner. And that covers all the Equator callouts. Sorry if it feels like I'm rushing a bit. Let me know if you want me to slow down these videos a little bit, but I know you guys' time is precious. And I'm trying to give you guys as much information as I can as fast as possible. So let's go on to Sawmill. And I would like to apologize for this map. This was the best map I could get, and it looks like something straight out of like 2005. It looks like I'm playing Warcraft 3 right here, and Illidan's about to come flying out. But Sawmill is a bit of a weird map. So it's not symmetrical at all. And it's not symmetrical, but it's not also really biased at all. It's just a bit of a weird map, and I really can't give any more advice other than that. We actually took it off our thing, our maps, which I feel like you shouldn't be able to do, but my teammates just hate playing it. And because most people went CQB and Scout because they're obviously the strongest trees right now, they don't do well on these maps. Personally, I think in ranked you should be forced to play every map. But I will say, while playing against Axel and Bakizi on Sawmill, and you know, Bakizi is rank 1 in the world right now. Almost every round came down to people just medding through. Like we would live through raiders and then just med through because no one knew where anyone was hiding and no one wanted to move, etc. So it's a bit weird of a map, but it is a really fun map in my opinion. But I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's start talking though. Depot is where one of the sniper spawns is. We don't have a name for the other one over here, but there's another sniper spawn on the blue side right here. But people tend to hang out around Depot and the tents and lurk quite a while when they're on the red side. And right here we have SUV. It's up by the upper objective. Black SUV. People use it as hardcover all the time, so it's going to have a steady call for it. Radio is the small shack right here. If you look up, this is the only spot on the map as well where you have a screen. You can see who is alive still. The center of the map, we have trailer. You can go ahead and say back trailer or the truck for relational and like where they're playing around this trailer, but it's a very important angle. And getting a quick call on it is super important. I think that's my garbage disposal. I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background a little bit. A BTR, that is just going to be a little bit to the right of the SUV here. People once again use this for hard cover or in the general vicinity. People like to also hang around these trees right around the BTR, so it's just good to be able to call it out quickly. This is trail. It links up straight between Sawmill right here. People rotate up really fast and can get frags on these upper players before they even know what's happened. So it's good to just have a fast call out for it. We just call this depot spawn because of the depot, obviously. You can also call Sawmill barn, whatever's short, effective, whatever works well for you. We call this middle section pit right here. You usually tend to sit in it and you can counter people that are up in the barn, people that are going in the path. And generally we don't have like a standard call for this, but we'll call these the cliffs, right? And the cliffs span a long distance. We have some callouts along the cliffs. We'll call this generally like mid cliffs right here or path cliffs right here. We call these sandbags. We'll go into these later. Or we'll say they're spawn cliffs, for example. But people don't get on the cliffs too much at higher rating because you do make yourself pretty vulnerable even though you can see a lot. This is car. It's just in mid. It's on the ramp. People tend to use it as cover though. Hill objective. We spoke about this earlier. This is cinder. People like to hide on this. Is for hard cover. If they're playing on this backside and they haven't pushed up past the objective yet, it gets used quite a lot. This is trench. Now, trench is kind of weird. It's like the most symmetrical spot on the map. We'll just say like deep trench, close trench, pushing trench for examples. But particularly this rock right here and this rock right here are rocks people love to sit on and watch the trench position as well as like watch further out. So their like sight line will go beyond that and they'll try and like shoot people in this field, or this guy will try and pop people that are pushing out of the pit, right? So watch out for that. You could kind of refer to this area as no man's land as well, if you will. On top of these cliffs, we call these sandbags because they do have quite a bit of cover and people tend to pop their heads out here quite often. So it's good to have a really quick call out for that and then someone can rip their head off. We call this midsection going straight up into the objective ramp right here. So let's say like they're under ramp. So they'll be like on these cliffs hugging really tight. Or under sandbags, if you will. Under trail, if you will. And you can call that really quickly. There's a little hole connector here in the barn, and it makes you it lets you make some pretty fast moves. So it's nice just to have a call out for it. We just call it hole. Super simple. And over here we have cliff spawns. So hopefully that helps you all. I am out of breath. I'm excited to play the wife tomorrow. Hopefully you guys are as well. If you guys need a crew to play with, join Discord. I'd love to get some arena games with you guys or play some Tarkov with you, or just shoot the shit with you. But I look forward to seeing you guys on Discord. My Twitch will be linked in the description as well. I love you all, and hopefully you guys have a great wipe. Hopefully you guys have a great time on Arena. Peace out, guys.